I know I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. I have here an article from Scientific American about the dangers of spiritual narcissism and all of the, the bad things about practicing yoga, like ego enhancement. God forbid we have any ego enhancement. What is it called in here? They don't call it ego enhancement. They call it self-enhancement. Oh no, people are enhancing themselves. What a fucking tragedy. What a disaster. Oh, let's all stare down our noses at these people who are working hard to enhance themselves. What the fuck? Here's a quotation from the beginning of the article. It says, a purported benefit of mind-body spiritual practices such as yoga, meditation, and energy healing is that they will help you quiet the ego. Who purports this benefit? I followed the link. It's to another Scientific American article, and that article is in reference to talk about the urgent benefit of quieting the mind, according to the author of that article. And he's talking about a program run by a woman who is a chair in social philosophy at a university. So this idea of quieting the ego is not from the Bhagavad Gita or from the Shiva Samhita or the Hatha Yoga Pradipika or the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. It's not from Aleister Crowley or Dion Fortune. Maybe it's from Dion Fortune. Or from Yogananda. I've read some of those books. I've read all of the ancient sources that I mentioned, otherwise I wouldn't talk about them. And I've read most of the Crowley corpus and the Yogananda biography. And maybe they make claims that are adjacent to this, but maybe Yogananda makes some claims that are adjacent to this. But this quieting of the ego thing, he's not even talking about a yoga practitioner. He's talking about someone that's doing social psychology, combining, her psychology techniques with techniques from Buddhism, whatever the hell that means. That's arbitrary. Any Americans want to call anything from Buddhism, because it makes it sound cool and spooky. The sourcing on this, and even the first clause, is very dubious. Let's not nitpick the poor guy's writing technique. I'm going to call this guy Guy a whole bunch of times. Let me make sure that it's a male author. I don't even see an author accreditation on this thing. Okay, so the anonymous Scientific American article. Let's talk about the studies that he is referencing here. So in their first experiment, they followed 93 yoga students for up to 15 weeks. They repeatedly assessed self-enhancement levels among people directly after participating in yoga and among people who had not practiced yoga within the past 24 hours. Self-centrality was measured by items such as focusing the mind on the exercise across the whole yoga class, and measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not at all central to me and 5 being central to me. So, in your yoga class, when you're lying on your back, with one leg up in the air, and you're pulling that deep stretch through the back of the hamstring, and you're trying to be there in the moment, present, feeling those feelings. Are those feelings you're having about your hamstring, are those central to you? Which I guess is bad. Or are they not central to you? How could any human being reply anything else? If you're doing vigorous physical exercise for, I don't know, is it a 45-minute yoga class? Is it a 90-minute yoga class? How could that not be central to you? It's absolutely absurd. Actually, let's go back one page, because he says something preposterous here about the Here. What do the empirical data actually have to say on one of the greatest paradoxes of our time? The greatest paradoxes of our time. Which is, if a major point of yoga is to quiet the ego, what do you mean if? Like, it isn't, but fine. And reducing focus on self. No. See my last video for the actual point of yoga. Why are there so many yoga poses pictured on Instagram? And here's an example of, why are there so many of these types of photos? If the practitioners in them are practicing yoga to quiet the mind. First of all, well, no, not to quiet the mind, to quiet the ego. First of all, real yoga is not designed to quiet the ego, right? And second of all, not exclusively, and not the kind of ego he's talking about, right? It's not about being more altruistic. It's about eliminating the personality entirely. And second of all, this person is not practicing yoga. Calisthenic exercise, vigorous calisthenic exercise for 45 minutes and then another 10 minutes of oming is not a yoga practice. Going from one pose to another really quickly and working up a sweat is not a yoga practice. You can practice yoga through meditation or through study. You can research the Vedas or the Pali Canon. You can practice yoga by ritual, like a Japanese tea ceremony or a ceremony to worship a god, or you can practice yoga by love, by devotion, bhakti yoga, where you practice really loving your guru in preparation and being obedient to him in preparation for really loving a more abstract force like a god. But working out, whether you do it in a boxing gym or in a yoga class, is not yoga. It can have yogic effects, because when you feel that deep tension of a deep stretch and then the release, that moment of tension and release, it's so physically jarring that the ego does slip, the personality does slip, the mind does fade away, and you really are there in a relationship with your physical body, with your id, with your, I don't know if there's a psychological term for this in Hebrew. It's called the guf, physical body, that material level of the soul. Okay, so in that way, there is a sort of dissociative experience that can happen in those classes as a result of serious practice, but it's not yoga, okay? Because the idea is not to prolong those experiences. The techniques don't reliably produce those experiences, and you don't, the goal is to just get bendy and like better looking and feel healthier. There aren't deep spiritual goals. And certainly being more charitable and putting others before yourself is not a deep spiritual goal. So even the reported spiritual goals are not the goals of yoga. And then the way they study this. So I think it's a good thing, generally, that people are being told that yoga is not the solution for their work stress, that meditation is not a cure-all, and that meditation will not make their lives easier. Okay, meditation is an appointment you keep with yourself. It's a difficult appointment. It's a long appointment. You eat up, minutes of every day, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes. And if you do it seriously, you might do this 3-4 times a day. Okay, so it's an additional stress. It's something else to forget to do. I just forgot to say Noon Resh again. Bugger. Meditation adds stress. And the goal of meditation is to destroy the aspirant's personality temporarily, so that they can put their inspiration in a direct relationship with their instincts. And there's another word that doesn't mean instincts that sounds like it should mean instincts. Our assumptions or something. Get the thinking mind out of the way so that you can learn your purpose. And then ultimately, in most systems, as I said, not to exist at all. Okay? So altruism is not the point of yoga, except the altruism that means you hope other people also don't exist. Disillusion into the infinite is the point of yoga. So it's good that people realize that this isn't just about helping them do a better job at work, okay? But the methodology of these studies and the presumption of these studies that they're refuting some sort of claim, which is only being made by frauds who don't know what yoga is. Fine, refute the claim of frauds all you want, but call them frauds. Don't call them yoga teachers. And do it with real studies, with methodologies that make sense. Don't ask whether your physical exercise is central to you or not, and then condemn people for saying that it is. Because of course your physical exercise is central to you. The fuck? There's this question of communal narcissism. Whether, I alone can save the world. I mean, I think people taking personal responsibility for their environment and their social circle is a good thing. And I think it is true that most people don't take social responsibility for themselves and their environment and their communities. And so if someone does take social responsibility, or realize that or even not actually do it, but realizing that they have the power to take some social responsibility for themselves and their environment or their community, I think that that's a good thing, Is it a savior complex? Maybe it's that also. But somehow, this physical exercise that they're researching, not yoga, this physical exercise seems to enhance communal narcissism, is what they're saying. And I actually do think that's kind of a weird problem. Like, how does you going to, sit in down dog for 90 minutes make you uniquely positioned to save the problems of the world, to solve the problems of the world, and to save people? Well, it's because you're being told that what you're doing is deep spiritual work, okay? Because you're being told that you're practicing yoga. And actually practicing yoga does make you uniquely positioned to deal with the problems of the world, because it puts you in a special spiritual relationship with the world. So even if you're only leading by example, acting benevolently yourself, and by benevolently I don't mean altruistically, kindly, I mean sort of righteously. If your behavior can be centered around a system of values that really comes from deeply held beliefs about metaphysics, if your behavior can be consistent, let's say, then you really are setting an example for most people who are radical partisans, who are wishy-washy, who are, swinging from one cause to the next, just at the behest of the tide of the media. And so, I mean, people who do practice yoga and magic really are in a unique position to make their own right choices about their own behaviors, which is the salvation of the world of that particular aspirant. So you're not saving the world for other people, but by doing yoga, you're saving your own world. And the frauds who teach these exercise classes and pretend that they're yoga and communicate to people that they can save the world without finessing it that way, without explaining the nuance of what that means, then people do go away with messiah complexes, and I think that's appropriate. But it's not because yoga gives you an inappropriate messiah complex. Yoga gives you an appropriate messiah complex, and being lied to by an incompetent teacher who tells you you're doing yoga when you're not, that is going to give you an inappropriate messiah complex. So I think that's a just criticism. It's a just criticism, but it's not explained anywhere in here. Here's a question they ask people to find out whether or not they're spiritual narcissists. Communal narcissists. Will you be known for the good deeds you have done? Who doesn't want to be remembered for the good deeds they've done? My good deeds will be forgotten. That's the right answer to that question? No, I'm going to be nice to people and nobody's going to care. That's the right answer to that question? Fuck off. Researchers found higher levels of self-centrality as well as self-enhancement, higher self-esteem, better than average judgments, and communal narcissism. Higher self-esteem, that's a problem, apparently, according to this article. And people who have high self-esteem, higher self-esteem, have louder egos, I guess. Because your ego is just your degree of self-esteem. There's no acknowledgement at all about what the real definition of an ego is. I mean, you can have low self-esteem and a loud ego, because low self-esteem, misery can be part of your identity. God forbid someone's ego tells them good things about themselves. They also found suggestive evidence that the augmented self-enhancement of yoga practices played a key role in the well-being benefits, and that yoga increases the well-being benefits by improving self-esteem, not quieting the ego, as if those two things are mutually exclusive. Here's a really annoying one. I'm glossing over some stuff to keep the video short, and also because I don't completely understand the methodologies being reported in some of these studies. But here's one where it says, in a more recent set of studies conducted, the authors conducted an exploration of spiritual superiority. So this is the problem, spiritual superiority. Now, people who practice yoga believe that they're spiritually superior to other people. So first of all, that's because they are. That's because that's what yoga's for. Most people don't believe they have souls, don't believe they have spirits, don't believe in God, think that the world they see is real. All right? And so most people don't care about the condition of their souls. They don't read philosophy. They read, Harry Potter, and they go to Marvel movies, and they take care of their kids. Like they take care of their responsibilities, and maybe they give to charity, and then because they give to charity and take good care of their kids, they're going to have really hurt feelings that you think that your hours and hours and hours of meditation experience, that your regular prayer regimens, that your magic experiments, that your devotion to God, they're going to have hurt feelings that you think that you're somehow more spiritually connected than they are because, I get to work on time every day, and that's the same thing. Some people are good at some people specialize, right? Many people specialize. You can be good at playing the guitar, you can be good at taking care of your kids, you can be good at cooking, and yoga is the same thing. You can be really, really, really good at yoga. And just like being really, really good at guitar makes you a better guitar player than other people, being really good at spiritual practice makes you better off spiritually than other people. You're better at spirit. You have so people who practice yoga regularly and believe that they're spiritually superior, it's probably because they are. Not if their teachers are frauds. Not if they're just going to calisthenic exercise classes and believing that that's yoga. But if someone has read every book of Aristotle's multiple times, and Aristotle is worried about the condition of your soul and says that the unexamined life is not worth living. Fuck, I hope I've got that quotation right. If you really invest in study with him, then yeah, you have a more examined life than other people. You have a more robust relationship with your soul than other people. You just do. And so if you feel like you do, that's not a problem. Here's the questionnaire they use to decide whether people are suffering from spiritual superiority. I am aware of things that others are not. If you say no to this question, you're either a liar or in a very, very degraded condition indeed. Everyone is aware of something that other people are not. It's not, at bare minimum, people have secrets. People have secrets, people have fantasies, people indulge in mystery, and then they don't share those fantasies with other people, so they're aware of things other people are not. But, if you're a martial artist, you're in a club of people who's aware of things about your martial arts that other people are not aware of. Other martial artists may not be aware of because your club may have a secret technique that other clubs don't. If you play music, you're aware of things that other people are not. If you follow politics closely, you're aware of things that other people are not. If you're in business, if you have success in business, you're aware of things that other people are not, both specifically because you're aware of the functioning of your own business, but more generally because you're aware of business practices that might help other people succeed when they're failing. Everyone is aware of things that other people are not. But somehow answering yes to this question is used by these researchers as evidence of spiritual superiority. I am more in touch with my senses than most others. So this is a weird one because I've been calling these calisthenic people frauds because they're pretending to be practicing yoga when they aren't. But they really do a lot of body work. They bend, they stretch, they do strength exercises, they do mindfulness exercises, they do relaxation exercises, they think about small movements, okay? So if by senses you mean touch, and maybe proprioception, maybe hearing, maybe you can be aware of where other people are in the class so you don't bump into them. Yeah, these people are more aware of their senses than most others, at least of their sense of proprioception. They know where the edges of their body lie in a way that other people radically don't. But answering yes to this question is a problem. Here's another question that evidences spiritual superiority. I am more aware of what is between heaven and earth than most people. Most people don't believe there is a heaven. So If you believe there is a heaven, and you think at all about what stuff might be between A and B, then you're more aware of what's between heaven and earth than most people. Even if you're wrong. Even if you're wrong, you're paying it some mind. Okay? So paying it some mind is more awareness than paying it no mind at all. But if you answer yes to that question, then you're spiritually superior. Because of my education and experience, I am observant of things others overlook. Everyone with education and experience is observant of things others overlook. That's just the point of education and experience. You go to school to become aware of things that others overlook. Right? Oh, I'd like to be more nuanced in politics, so I'm going to get a poli-sci undergrad. I'd like to be more. I'd like to have a better understanding of how to make and use tools. So I'm going to go to do a tool and die program so that I don't overlook things when I start trying to make tools. I am observant and see things others overlook. And when you practice occultism in a serious way, the occult, let's say the occult is just the study of what's hidden. And so you can look for hidden things in trend, in political trend, in social trend, but also you can, think about spirits. You can talk to angels and think about the movements of spirits around and between people. But even if you just spend a few minutes, at the end of every calisthenics class, oming and monitoring the movements of your thoughts, then yeah, you're seeing things that others overlook. Because of my background and experiences, I am more in touch with my body than other people. So the goal of Real Asana is to sort of detach from your body. You want to sit still for anywhere from an hour to 4 hours every day, so that the body can be trusted to send you no signals, is the way Crowley expresses it, so that then you can then do mental exercises, follow the movement of the thoughts, and then focus the thoughts on a single area. So it's possible to imagine a real yoga practitioner for whom this is not true. But if you're asking people who go to yoga class 2-3 times a week, to do down dogs and chaturangas and forward folds and great dancers and little dancers and warrior 1 and warrior 2, because of their background and experience, they just are more in touch with their body than other people. The correct answer to this question is yes, but an answer of yes will get you charged with spiritual narcissism. These questions don't have no explanatory force at all. None. The answer to every one of these questions just is yes. But if you answer yes, then it's evidence of spiritual narcissism. Maybe it's because I actually do yoga that I can spot these things. Maybe my background makes me observant of things that other people overlook. I went to a community college and studied acting. This is a research paper by hopefully trained scientists or sociologists perhaps, or psychologists. Whatever it is, it's a research paper being referenced in Scientific American magazine. So hopefully they're scientists, and they don't understand that their own questions, which they've designed, don't mean anything. For some reason, on a cursory read, I can point this out. The world would be a better place if others too had the insights I have now. Everyone believes this. People who play music want to fund music programs in public schools. People who do sports want to fund sports programs in public schools. People who know Latin think that kids should learn Latin. People who read the Bible think people should read the Bible. People who love Marvel movies wish that more people would watch Marvel movies, or that Marvel movies would be better. Everyone thinks the world would be better if their pet subject was more widely taken up. And when someone donates a bunch of money to a school program to buy musical instruments for kids, they're not doing it out of a sense of spiritual narcissism. They're doing it because music enriched their lives and made them feel better, and so they're altruistically trying to give music to other people. I don't want to teach yoga to kids, right? Yoga's hard, and the consequence for some people, depending on the attitude with which they come into it, as I discussed in my previous video, the consequence of taking yoga seriously should be the destruction of the self. Kids should be kids, and most adults who are spiritually children should just be allowed to be adults, live enriching lives. But if someone comes to me and says, I'm really interested in spiritual discipline and I want help learning yoga, then I feel like I should help them. Because people who want a relationship with their spirit should have it. And the world is a better place if it has spiritual giants in it, real teachers. Just like the world is a better place if it has ballet masters and really great opera performances and top quality professional sports. Spiritual masters also make the world a better place. So yeah, no, of course more people should practice yoga. And by saying that, I am evidencing my spiritual narcissism. Everyone who doesn't say yes to every question on this list is a liar or living in a very degraded condition indeed. A very sad, very degraded condition, and they need help. If you answer no to any of those questions, you need help. You need a psychiatrist, you need perhaps medical intervention, you need social intervention maybe, like maybe you should try to get on welfare and learn to manage your resources a little bit better. Ask your mom for some money so you can go back to school. Those are yes questions. Why is everyone so bad at doing yoga research? Like this person who thinks that quieting the ego means just, being nicer, and that we should all quiet our egos and be nicer and put other people before ourselves. This person is a social psychologist. If she's gone to school for psychology, she should know what the word ego means. And she should trust that when yoga teachers use it, they're using it correctly. Because they are. Quieting the ego doesn't mean being less narcissistic. It means not having a personality. At least for the duration of the exercise. So the conception of yoga that's being challenged here is not the conception of yoga practitioners. It's the conception of yoga of other yoga researchers. And I feel like yoga teachers are being indicted in this paper for a public perception that they didn't create. It's like it's like yoga is being accused of being fraudulent. We claim to quiet the ego. No, we don't. That was an academic study that you cited in your magazine. You told everyone that yoga was for quieting the ego. You're saying your magazine lied. Yoga practitioners didn't lie, because we know what we mean by things. There are dangerous cults. There are frauds, and virtually every, yoga class, it's good exercise, right? It's good physical exercise. Pretending it's yoga is fraudulent. But yoga itself is not the fraud. These are people committing fraud, pretending they know yoga. If someone charges you $100,000 to teach you how to play the oboe and doesn't know how to play the oboe himself, refuses to hire a teacher, and then just disappears with your money, oboe is not a fraud. That oboe teacher is a fraud. I'm Leonard Scott Collins, and these are the idle thoughts of an idle fellow on yoga, part 2.